Rusky Ed here with a lesson about remarks, comments, and expressions. Attempt to translate the sample sentences before the end of the intro song. As always, the pause button is available should you happen to need more time.
If you want to learn Russian but your time's not abundant, and the books you'll see are way too redundant, then sit yourself down and get ready to go. Stay tuned because it's time for the Rusky Ed Show.
Some of the words featured in this lesson include rечь, which means speech, замечание, which means remark, and выражение, which means expression. Each of the sample sentences is about, in one way or another, things that people say. Beginning with sample sentence number 1. He bored everyone with his long speech. The verb here is надоедать, which means to bore or to bother. Also, the word for speech is rечь, for your information. And so, the translation is Он надоел всем своей длинной речью. The second sample sentence goes like this. She frowned at his rude remark. The key words here include осудить, which means to condemn or to denounce. Грубый, which means rude, crude, or harsh. And замечание, which means remark or comment. Putting these words together into a sentence along with a couple pronouns, we wind up with Она осудила его грубое замечание. Sample sentence 3 is as follows. There should be an old saying about that. Another word for old saying is aphorism, and the Russian word for aphorism is aphorism. And so the following two translations will work. Должен быть какой-нибудь апhorism на эту тему. And есть какой-то апhorism на эту тему. It is now time for sample sentence 4. He did not understand the colloquial expression. The key words here are понять, which means to understand, разговорный, which means colloquial or conversational, and выражение, which means expression. Using these three words we derive он не понял это разговорное выражение. However, it is likely that разговорный would be dropped, in which case the translation would be он не понял это выражение or он не понял этого выражения. And finally we have, it's an idiomatic expression. There are a couple of options here. First of all, idiomatic means idiom. However, it might not get used in this translation since it is quite similar to idiotic, which means idiotic. It is likely that the word phraseologicheski, which means phraseological, would be used instead. Also, the word оборот can be used to refer to an expression. Actually, оборот means turn. But the word pair, оборот речи, means turn of speech. And so a good translation would be это фразеологический оборот, which means it's an idiomatic expression. By the way, the phrase фразеологический словарь means phraseological dictionary or dictionary of idioms. And now, speaking of idioms, we have a quick idiom. С глаз долой из сердца вон is an idiom which means out of sight, out of mind, long absent, soon forgotten, or literally away from eyes, away from heart. The word doloi means away, off, or down with, as in с глаз моих долой, which means out of my sight. By the way, proch is a synonym for doloi, and it gets used in phrases such as ruki proch, which means hands off, proch отсюда, which means get out of here, and proch с дороги, which means get out of the way. The focus words for this lesson include надоедать, which means to bore, замечание, which means remark, aphorism, which means aphorism, выражение, which means expression, and оборот, which means turn. Rusky Ed, signing out now. До свидания!
You made it to the end of the lesson, and watching Rusky Ed is better than guessing. The more you learn, the more you know. Come back for the next Rusky Ed Show.